But anyway, this Zelensky thing got crazy, right? Got crazy. Let's recap, right? Because there is a real disconnect going on. I think if you dislike Trump, you say that Trump was rude and mean and ganged up on Zelensky. I like Trump a lot, but it seems to be that Zelensky, really started this. And I think the reason he started is because he doesn't. I don't think he wants the war to finish. I think while the war's going on, he's a media darling. Everybody loves him. He's got tons of money coming in. He has all that money he can embezzle. If it all ends, it all ends. I don't think he wants it to end, right? But here's the thing. I've been amazed how in the simplistic way that and I'm by no way means an expert at all, but the Russia-Ukraine conflict has been presented like Putin, bad man. He bad man, do bad thing. And yes, he is. He's ex-KGB. He almost certainly tortured people and murdered them, right? Personally, he's a very bad man. But like Zelensky's only marginally better, right? I mean, like framing this in a moral argument just seems insane to me, right? It really does. Like, before the war, Ukraine was a intensely corrupt state with a flourishing Nazi community, right? Before this, not the World War II or World War One, this war, right? They're not saints, right? What's the name of the Enrique something or other? There was a journalist who was critical of Zelensky who tried to flee the country. He was fleeing the country and they caught him and they put him in jail and tortured him in jail, then murdered him. Right? They are not good people. I hate to tell you, they are really trying to leverage whatever they can to get America to fight this war against Ukraine, against Russia for them, right? Because they can't fight it. That just seems kind of shitty to me. And this war was going to be okay. For example, do you know what this war's all about? It's just about money, right? As opposed to the war in Gaza, they all want to kill me. They want to kill me because I'm a Jew, right? The thing in Ukraine and Russia, it's just about money. Russia has a port in Sevastopol in Crimea, right? They're never giving that up. They need the land bridge through the Donbas so they can access the world, right? They can send their natural gas around the world easily and efficiently. It gives them access to the Suez Canal. They basically from there they can transport their oil, their gas anywhere. Now, NATO doesn't like that, right? NATO didn't like them having such a strong hold on the European gas market because they got to dictate the price. So instead, if they force them out in the Black Sea, then NATO gets to dictate the price, and that's really what it is, right? That's what it is. That's why the Nord Stream 2 pipeline was blown up by Ukraine, right? And there's a German arrest warrant for the people who blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, right? So, yes, technically speaking, if Ukraine, and the answer is they did, if Ukraine attacked a NATO country by destroying their vital energy source, which was the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, then it triggers Article 5 that you've got to go to war against Ukraine. Right at that point, it's not good, right? And look, this war has basically been about money laundering. 350 million had just gone from America, right? And 350 billion, I should say, billion, from America, and they can't over half of it, right? It's completely and totally bonkers. Oh, yeah, I was just commenting to Simon Halden. He just replied on his Facebook. Like, to me, it looked like Zelensky started the argument, right? To me, let's watch it together, right? Because this is, I don't know, this seems to be we watch the same thing. One person sees one thing, another person sees another. Yeah. So we're not going to watch the full 50 minutes, but we're going to watch where the fight. Right. So when did no the
guide us is we believe in free speech in this country and we'll fight for it for American citizens.
Mr. President.
Oh yeah, that's why they hate JD Vance, because he what just was that? Because he was called out European nations for their lack of free speech.
The president made at Munich, and I think it's a very compelling one, that what unites us with Europe as much as anything else is these shared values, and one of them being free speech. And so if Americans are threatened by it, we're going to need to take action in that regard.
JD? It's actually a very important question.
We spoke about this in detail with the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and others at lunch yesterday, and I know that...
David Lammy? Oh my God. Well, you might as well have spoken to a tub of lard, mate.
Secretary of Commerce Lutnick followed up in private meetings last night. This is really important. We believe Americans have the right to speak their mind, even if we in this room disagree with them. They have the right to speak their mind in the public square, which is often online these days. And we're going to defend that right as it pertains to American companies and American citizens vigorously if we have to. I do think that under the president's leadership, we're going to find common ground with our friends in the UK on this question, but it remains to be seen. The principle that will guide us is we believe in free speech in this country and we'll fight for it for American citizens.
Okay, so
Mr. President.
that really pissed them off, right? But yeah, that isn't
A little bit. We'll see.
On LNG?
But we're not really looking for
Okay,
that,
so this guy
relax.
asks a question. It essentially says, aren't you throwing everybody under a bus?
We have more than anybody in the world.
It's this
only
guy.
as a most powerful country, richest country in the world.
You're saying, like, from Poland, we watched when we were occupied by Russia, you're so great.
The country that has great music, great movies, great muscle cars, but also as a force for good. And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
Right, so this is where it sparked it off. 3850.
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with
What he's saying is absolute truth.
Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this.
Well, the trouble is he's not really, because Europe really wants this war to go ahead. By the way, Cyber, I wanted to look watching right now. Cyber, how are you? You're the reason we're watching this right now. It's you, right? Because my premise is that two people can watch the same thing and see something different. So Trump right now is answering the question about, and I think this is a very insulting question, because it's essentially saying that he's in Putin's pocket for some reason or another, right? And it's irritating to Trump, especially considering that he had that piss tape hoax came out in the beginning of his first term, right? Saying that he was a puppet of Putin, and I was saying Russia. He's always like he won because of Russia included. Okay, these were literal coups by the intelligence agencies, right? Which he's, the Ukraine war is somewhat of a distraction, right? So I think he found the question reasonably insulting, but I think he's answering that. I think JD Vance is pissed off. But I think Vance answered an insult with calm, with class. But let's watch again, because I've watched it many times now.
This thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I want to respond to this. So look.
Yeah, he's definitely irritated, right? Because I think he felt the question was insulting. And I not only understand him, I agree with him. Maybe in the moment things got out of hand, but I think that his response was completely within etiquette.
For 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country.
One thing I'm going to interject right here. The thing about the Trump and MAGA in general is they are very forthright in saying what they believe to be the truth. And they are not circumspect in saying how absolutely awful the Biden White House was. By every metric, it was a disaster, an absolute disaster. And both Trump and this war happened because of Biden, because of Biden's weakness, right? And also probably Biden's corruption. I mean, they had the whole Burisma scandal, how he took bribes from there. They probably have dirt on Biden, right? Which is probably how this thing got so out of control. But also, again, it's a money laundering program. 350 billion, and like over half it goes missing. It's bizarre. Anyway, so this is the point where people say he jumped off the handle.
The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden, of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy.
That was it. It was the implying that America wasn't implying that MAGA America wasn't a good country, which I fundamentally disagree with it. I think it's an incredibly moral country now.
That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
So that I don't think that's flying off the handle. I think that's giving a classy and diplomatic response to a reasonably rude question. We could have just left it there, but now Zelensky chips in.
Sure. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they think, he's going to back us up. Keep in mind, there's a deal for him to sign where he gets 90% of what he wants, right? He just has to sign and have lunch and the war's over. And like, again, 600,000 people have died? It's terrible. Like I've been to 2 funerals of soldiers, and they're heartbreaking. They're the worst things you can imagine. 600,000? It's awful. I mean, it really is. And honestly, I believe Trump is movable. I believe Trump is a genuinely different person. I think he believes himself to be the instrument of God to bring morality and goodness to the world. And I think that's why he wants to end it. Whether it is, I actually think he is, right? But that's me. That's my bonkers worldview, right? I think that's what he thinks, right? And I think that's why he wants to end this war.
He occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014.
Okay. Fine. I mean, I'm not going to watch this again, but I think this is where it goes off the rails. Right? It was amicable until this point. So it's 38-50 to 40-45. I think it was amicable to this point. This is where it goes off the rails, where he essentially says that they won't protect them, that their plan's garbage. The plan they all agreed to is garbage. And he was like rolling his eyes and huffing and puffing. You don't talk over the fucking president of the United States in his office on international TV live. Yeah, let's go to where so yeah, you have the Trump vaccine. Then Trump is like, enough, okay? But the Zelensky, he's talking over him. I found this indescribably rude.
They're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position.
Yeah, you shouldn't be dictating to Donald Trump. This is a massive mistake. This is a massive mistake. And I think he deserved the addressing down the go. And look, the bottom line is there's no need for this freaking war to go on. It's a disgrace. And it seems to me that this administration desperately wants there to be peace, right? And again, and they seem to be saying in the the best way I can imagine. I can't imagine doing this in a better way. Here's JD Vance this week today, and it caused a massive row. Again, I think this is a lot of Trump derangement syndrome.
You know, when you would talk to the Biden administration officials in private, it's another example of a terrible situation the Biden admin left the Trump administration. When you ask them what's the plan, okay, we're going to spend tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars in Ukraine. What is your plan? And they would honestly tell you, well, we're just going to send them weapons for as long as we can and hope eventually they can turn the tide. Hope is not a strategy. Throwing money and ammunition.
And again, I really don't feel it's unprofessional in any way to be extremely deriding of the Biden White House, because especially considering how deriding they were of the Trump White House, and the Trump White House in 2016, 2019, best economies of our lives and world peace, right? 2020 to now absolute disaster, right? Rainbow flag and apocalypse everywhere.
At a terrible conflict, that is not a strategy. The only guy in town with a strategy is the President of the United States, and everybody needs to follow his lead.
Something else that really needs to be keep in mind: they're not leaving Donbass or Crimea. It's not happening, right? Under any circumstances, that essentially ends Russia, because they cannot ship their major resource globally anymore, and it will destroy their economy. What do you think they're going to do to your shipping routes and your economy with their largest nuclear arsenal in the world? Why do you think they explained they had a tsunami bomb, right? A nuclear device that will go off coast to cause a tsunami to destroy ports, to destroy port towns. And when Trump said you're gambling with the lives of millions, he wasn't joking, right? They said when Biden came in, the adults are back in the room. No, now the adults are back in the room, and this is adult talk. Russia's not leaving there, right? But still, I think the deal on the table might actually work out well.
Scares me is Zelensky, when he says it's going to go on for years. How many more lives are going to be lost? He's not going to have a country to save at the end of that. The minerals deal would have provided the monies to rebuild their country and a strong U.S. presence and maybe European troops as well.
And this is an important part of it. The president knows that, look, if
the British-French troops is a non-starter. That was a way of derailing any peace initiative before it started. Why? You're telling Putin, okay, you retreat back to your borders, and the minute you say yes, we're going to load up the border. We're going to load up Ukraine with a bunch of army. No, it's a red line. Is there being a NATO presence in Ukraine? It's the same as the Kennedy doctrine about placing nuclear missiles of first strike capability in Cuba, right? It's called the Kennedy doctrine. That's an existential threat, and it's not happening. Right, and if it does happen, it causes World War III, right? Because it really genuinely does. And the world, if we have peace with Russia, and I think again, I hear this insanity. Oh, Putin wants to push out and take over Poland, and no, he doesn't. I mean, where is it? He's more north than Poland. Where is it? And he's put nuclear missiles, Crimea. I can't remember. But I see no indication of that whatsoever. I see NATO wanting to attacking Russia's economy. Right? Again, this doesn't mean Putin's a great guy. Again, murderer and torturer. I'm not going to argue with you about that. That's absolutely true.
If you want real security guarantees, if you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine.
Yeah, you think Donald Trump won't protect that with every breath in his body? What have you seen over the last 5 weeks? Right? America first. Although Zelensky, when he's like Ukraine first, he's a hero. When Trump is America first, he's a Nazi.
That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
And so, again, you need this extreme Trump derangement syndrome to hear anything wrong there, right? Julie Hartler, who I think is good on most things, I agree with her, and I like her, is apoplectic, right? And she says that's a diss on the English military. Obviously, it wasn't. They fought together in the last 20 years. So clearly it's not. He's talking about, I don't know, you get some troops in from Estonia or some shit old place they nobody's heard of. I don't know, maybe Estonia's nice. I don't know. Transylvania, dark as Peru. I don't fucking know. They get some some troops in from a poor country that hasn't fought a war in 40 years. Yeah. Is that better than having American money? People are very, very, very funny about their money, and they will defend it.
The security guarantee and also the economic guarantee for Ukraine is to rebuild the country and ensure that America has a long-term interest. You're not going to do that if you come to the Oval Office, insult the president, and refuse to follow his plan for peace.
I think that's completely reasonable, right? Completely. But here's the bottom line. Look, Trump is a people's president, right? And the people like him. The people agree with him on this issue. So check this out.
Way we can kind of just ask this is, do Americans like the way that Trump's handling his job?
Now, this is CNN, who hates Trump, right? Hate Trump, right? This is just in the Russia-Ukraine situation talking about Biden minus 22, Trump plus 2. That's a 24-point advantage. I think he's doing okay.
Compared to how they felt about Joe Biden, so this is the net approval rating. You look at Joe Biden back in 2024, he was 22 points underwater. Holy cow. You look at Donald Trump, it's just a different planet entirely. I mean, the gulf between these two is wider than the Gulf of America or Mexico, depending on which side of the aisle you stand on.
The Gulf of America, baby. It's the Gulf of America now. And I love that he's so unashamedly a pro-America and loves America. I think that's a good thing.
He's at +2. So look, at this particular point, Americans are giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. He's doing considerably better than Joe Biden was doing on the handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And so on this simple question, I think Americans are saying, okay, Donald Trump's doing all right on this.
What about specifically on how they feel about bringing the war to an end?
Yeah, okay. So, look, questions on this can be quite complicated, but I think that
the trouble is most people don't understand. Most people, a lot of people think that Russia can be pushed out of the Donbass and Crimea. They can't, right? That the chances of there being an armed nuclear conflict that greatly affects civilians with millions of dead is very high at that point. And you're probably at DEFCON 2 if they still have that. I just remember from war games in the 80s. They probably have something different now. But that's really bad news, right? I mean, that's I would say probably a 60% chance of mass death at that point.
this kind of gets at sort of where the American trend line is. Americans on the Russia-Ukraine war want a quicker end of the war, but Russia keeps its captured land. Look at this, 50%, bare majority.
But it is also important to point out this captured land is all ethnically Russian. Everybody there speaks Russian, and they were being shelled by the Azov Brigade before they went in, which are Ukrainian Nazi troops. So, you it's not a black and white situation, and it's been portrayed with all the nuance and depth of the struggle between He-Man and Skeletor. It's ridiculous.
Bare majority coming in here, support Ukraine's right to fight, even if it means a longer war. That's at 48. This is very, very close. But the trend line on this question is so important because that want a quick end of the war, look at this. You go back to August of 2022, it was at 31%. Now we're at 50%. I mean, that is a rocket ship upwards in terms of the Americans who want a quick end to the war, even if it means Russia keeps the captured Ukraine.
There's no possibility of them not keeping the captured land, right? There's 0. It's more chance of seeing shooting well act normal and be straight, right? There's 0 chance.
Land. Americans are moving closer and closer to wanting a compromise, even if it means that Ukraine doesn't really get what it set out to want, at least at the beginning of this war.
And Americans' views on Russia are shifting as well.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons why we're seeing this is Americans who say Russia is an enemy. You go back to 2023, it was 60.
Again, there's really no reason for Russia not to be an enemy, right? And if you can create a strategic alliance with Russia, that is one of the strongest things that America could do right now. Because the enemy is China, right? If you have like strong economic and political ties with Russia, firstly you could probably influence them to have better human rights? Probably not. But yeah, you have an opportunity then. But secondly, it's a safer, more prosperous world. It's a world where yeah, safer essentially. I mean, again, it would be a much better world.
4%. In that CBS News YouGov poll, it was down to 34%. Now, there is a chunk that believes that Russia's an unfriendly nation, but the percentage who believe that they're either an ally or friendly, that's up to 34% as well. Basically,
they're not an ally. They're not an ally. Okay.
So views on Russia have become, let's say, a little less isolated in terms of wanting Russia to be way out there on their own, thinking that they're an enemy. At this particular point, they're starting to see Russia a little bit more friendly, and I think that's part of the reason why Americans want to see a compromise at this particular hour.
Yeah, and also they're done spending money on it, right? They're done here. One last clip, and this is a short one. J.D. Vance saying, again, just pure sense.
Have fought very bravely, but we're at a point here where neither Europe nor the United States nor the Ukrainians can continue this war indefinitely. So it's important that everybody come to the table, and the president is...
Yeah, cooler heads need to prevail, right? And that's being lambasted as bullying? No. It's cooler heads need to prevail, right? So keep me away from an integration. By the way, did you see my thumbnail when I went over this yesterday? Share screen, doing. I think this is fantastic. Listen, it's one thing to be brilliant and be able to make things like this. It's another thing to recognize it and bask in one's own brilliance. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very proud to do that in front of you tonight. So, Simon, I don't know if you're still here. If you want to come and talk about it, you are more than welcome, Habibi. If you want to come talk with Doctor Who as well, more than one. What I really want to see you do is watch season 2 of Doctor Who. Okay, and why? Because you're so normal, right? You are the most normal person, and watching you with shooting Catwoman being just this weird, shit. God, it's great entertainment. Oh God, you don't say this. If you've never seen Titanfall, he's not doing it anymore. Go back and look at the old ones of Simon watching, talking about Scooby Catwoman. I have tears streaming down my cheeks. Simon, your pain is my pleasure, baby. Okay, I have to tell you, genuinely. If you'll consider reviewing this season, we're going to be looking at the trailer soon. Oh, that'd be fan-dabby double dosing, right? Fan-dabby double dosing. My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.